class, so this is a little quick review of units 5 and 6 since I am not with 8th period to review today. Again, I'm very sorry I had to leave, but we are going to go through this review that you are doing in class, starting with numbers 1 and 2. So this is the image for numbers 1 and 2, all right, and these are medians. So remember, a median goes from a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side, all right? And all three medians meet at a special point, and that point is called the centroid. This is the answer to number 2. Okay, so remember, the centroid goes with medians. The orthocenter goes with altitudes. And the other two answers are just distractors. They do exist. Those are special centers, but we didn't talk about them. Now, the centroid, which is where all the medians meet in a 2-to-1 ratio for each median. What that means, bless you, what that means is that this entire segment is split into 2 parts here to 1 part here. So for number 1, to find the length of MN, if I know the smaller part is 6, I have to double that to find the larger part, and it's asking for the entire length, which is why I add 6 plus 12 to equal 18. So the answer to number 1 is C. Moving on to numbers 3, 4, and 5. All right, this picture is visually very confusing. I know that. There's a couple things I want to remind you. So first of all, altitude starts at a vertex and is perpendicular to the opposite side. So remember, a vertex is one of the 3 points of the circle. So there's 3 vertices. That's the plural of the word vertex. And there's 3 of them in a triangle. So the altitude must start at one of these 3 endpoints, and it has to be perpendicular to the other side. So dy is an altitude because it starts at a vertex, and we know that is a right angle. So that would be an altitude. It doesn't ask for this. The answer to number 4 was A because it's asking for dy. But let's talk about the other ones, and then that'll help me answer number 3. So the perpendicular bisector, okay, is also perpendicular, but it's perpendicular at a midpoint. Okay, so it does not have to go through a vertex. Sometimes it does, but most of the times it does not. Okay, so it didn't ask for this, but the perpendicular bisector would be XV because it is perpendicular at a midpoint, which I know is marked because of those tick marks. Then a median goes from a vertex to a midpoint. All right, so let's look at our options here. We have vertex here, vertex here, vertex here. This vertex is an angle bisector. This vertex, E, does it go to a midpoint? Let's see. Z is a midpoint, so that is a median. That is the answer to number 3. EZ is the median. Then the angle bisector I kind of mentioned, you will see that the angle is marked, cut in half. Okay, it does start at a vertex as well, but the angle is bisected. Okay, which of the following is always true about altitudes? This has to be always true. The altitude can only be inside of a triangle. That is not always true. Sometimes it's outside. Hi. I have a baby here with me listening to this lesson. All right. The altitude can only be outside of a triangle. That's not true. It's only sometimes outside of the triangle. It says when it's acute. That's definitely not true. It has to be obtuse to be outside of the triangle. The altitudes meet at the centroid. That's not true. They meet at the orthocenter. So the only option is D, which this is always true. The altitude always goes through a vertex. It's always perpendicular to the opposite side. That's D. All right, moving on to number 6. This is a mid-segment. So the mid-segment theorem says that this length of the mid-segment is half of the length of the opposite side. So to solve this equation, a lot of students might set these equal. That is not correct. We have to first double this one, and then we can set it equal to the longer side, which is exactly what I do here. I double. And so make sure you distribute. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 11 is 22. And then solve for x. We get x equals 15. And then just double check that's what the problem wanted. And it just says solve for x. So the answer is 15. Letter C. Number 7, this is the angle bisector theorem. The angle bisector theorem says that any point that lies on an angle bisector is equidistant from the sides of the angle. So that means that these two lengths are the same. Yeah, they are. So if this length is 16, then this other length is 16. Answer is B, 16. Number 8, we're looking for skew lines. A, B, and C are not skew. They are parallel. I think like these two lines, which is answer choice A, those are parallel. HG and AB, those are also parallel because they're going in the same direction, okay? EH and EA, EH and EA connect, so they certainly are not skew. The only answer choice where they're not connecting and they're going in two different directions is answer choice D, EA and HG. All right, two lines are parallel. Parallel means same slope. So if the original slope is 3/4 and the lines are parallel, then guess what? The new slope is also 3/4. Answer is A. Lots of questions from my other class on number 10. So it says, which of the following is a line that is perpendicular to this original? Well, the original line, remember, the slope is y equals mx plus b. The slope is this first one, this first number. So the original slope is 1/3. The perpendicular slope, you have to flip the fraction and negate it. So since this original fraction is positive, my new slope is negative, and I flip the fraction, so -3/1, which means the new slope is -3. When I look at these answer choices, the first slope is 1/3. That's not my answer. The second slope, -1/3. Not my answer. The third slope is -3. It doesn't matter what this other number is. All that matters is that the slope is opposite reciprocal. And then this last slope is +3, so that's a no. So the answer has to be C. A lot of students were saying, well, where did they get the 4? Doesn't matter where they got it from. All that matters is that that slope is opposite reciprocal from the original slope. All right, just a couple more here. We got this one. All right, this original line is horizontal, okay? Goes side to side. Y equals a number is horizontal. So if it's perpendicular to horizontal, then it's got to be a vertical line. And a vertical line will always be x equals just a number. So the only option here is x equals 6. It doesn't matter where they got the 6 from, just that it's a vertical line is the only option. So that's answer choice B. All right, so then moving on to 12 and 13, some of my students said, wait, these lines aren't parallel, so does that mean that we can't answer it? That's not true. These angle names exist whether the lines are parallel or not. What we have to be careful of is corresponding angles, for example, are not congruent when the lines are not parallel. So all the congruent relationships and supplementary relationships only happen when the two lines are parallel. So we can still answer numbers 12 and 13. Angles R and S are corresponding angles. So as a reminder, corresponding angles are actually on the same side of that transversal, but one is inside the lines and one is outside. So that is corresponding. That was answer choice A for number 12. For number 13, we got answer choice B. 1 and 6 are alternate exterior angles. That's because angle 6 is to the left of the pink line, angle 1 is to the right of the pink line, and they're both outside of the two other lines, so alternate exterior. Number 14. All right, these now, it says find the value of x so that the lines are parallel. So if the lines are going to be parallel, then there needs to be some sort of relationship between these two angles. These are same side exterior angles. So same side sup. Same side sup. We have to add these and set them equal to 180. Another hint is that when the lines are parallel, if this one looks obtuse and this one looks acute, then they're not going to equal each other. So your only options is they either equal each other or they're supplementary. In this case, they're going to be supplementary, same side sup. So I add them together, set it equal to 180, and when we solve, we get x equals 10. For number 15, I think this is a pretty tough problem because there's a lot you have to do. So listen carefully, okay? We're going to start with the fact that the lines are parallel. If the lines are parallel, then I can set some things equal or supplementary. Yeah. So these are alternate interior angles. They make that Z. All right, so these are congruent. So I'm going to set 9x plus 9 and 10x minus 4. Okay, you don't like that one. Equal to each other. We're setting them equal. I do that up here. Okay, so I solve for x. You get x equals 13. And then, but what's it asking for is angle 1. It's asking for this angle. So what I did was I plugged in to this one. You could plug into 9x plus 9, or you could plug into 10x minus 4. It really doesn't matter. But what you get is that this angle, or this angle, is 126 degrees. Notice that an answer choice was 13, but that's not the answer because it's not asking for x. When I plugged in, I got 126. That was an answer choice, but that's not what it's asking. These two angles are same side sup, or you could even think these two angles form a line, so they're supplementary. So to find the actual answer for angle 1, you have to do 180 minus the 126, which is where that answer 54 comes from. All right, baby's getting restless, so last one, really quick. This is a trick question. The answer is cannot be determined, and the reason is the lines are not parallel. If the lines are not parallel, then you cannot say that these corresponding angles are congruent. All you can say is that they are both corresponding angles, but we don't know if they're congruent or not, okay? So because the lines were not parallel, there's not enough information to actually determine that value of x. So be careful. There might be one trick question like that on your final. All right, that is what I have time for today. I hope this was helpful. Make sure you go back, study the answer keys, and really go through those mini reviews. The units 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6 reviews are really good multiple choice practice problems. There's a Delta Math available. There's your review packet available. There's so many things you can study from. So make sure you study, and I'm going to see you on Thursday. All right. Thanks, you guys.